Fame paid them in millions, but life collected the debt in ways no contract ever warned about. Behind the cheerful songs and smiling faces of the Partridge Family lies a ledger of fortunes gained and lives quietly unraveled. What happens when teenage stardom fades faster than the money lasts? And who, among them, truly escaped the cost of being America's perfect family? Number 1. David Cassidy. $500,000 to over $1 million. He was just 20 when he stepped into the role of Keith Partridge, born into Hollywood blood as the son of actor Jack Cassidy and stepson of Shirley Jones. Fame didn't arrive slowly, it detonated. Within a year, he wasn't just a TV star, he was a global teen idol, triggering hysteria at concerts across continents. His real fortune didn't come from the show itself, but from the records, the tours, the screaming crowds that turned his name into a brand. Estimates place his total earnings from the era well beyond $1 million, a staggering sum for the early 1970s. By 2026, David Cassidy is long gone, having passed away in 2017 at 67 after years of health struggles and financial turmoil. Despite earning millions, he filed for bankruptcy more than once. The man who once couldn't walk down a street without causing chaos spent his later years battling addiction and fading relevance. Today, he is remembered with a mix of admiration and quiet tragedy, a symbol of how fame can consume even its brightest star. Number 2. Shirley Jones. $400,000 to $800,000. When Shirley Jones took on the role of Shirley Partridge, she was already 36, a seasoned actress, an Academy Award winner, and the undeniable anchor of the cast. Unlike the younger actors, she didn't arrive chasing fame. She brought it with her. Her salary reflected that status, making her the highest paid member up front. She played not just a mother on screen, but a stabilizing force behind the scenes, guiding a cast that was rapidly losing control of their own sudden stardom. By 2026, Shirley Jones stands as one of the few who truly endured. At over 90 years old, she remains a respected figure in Hollywood history, her legacy intact and largely untouched by scandal. While she never benefited from back-end profits like Cassidy, her career before and after the show ensured lasting financial stability. Today, she is remembered not as a cautionary tale, but as a rare survivor who walked through fame without letting it destroy her. Number 3. Susan Dey. $150,000 to $300,000. She was only 17 when she became Laurie Partridge, a shy, inexperienced girl with no formal acting background, suddenly placed under the brightest lights imaginable. Susan Dey didn't come from Hollywood royalty, nor did she expect what followed. Her natural beauty and quiet presence made her an instant fan favorite, and as the seasons progressed, so did her salary. By the end of the series, she had earned a respectable sum for a young actress, hundreds of thousands in total, but nothing compared to the machine built around Cassidy. By 2026, Susan Dey is 73 and has long since disappeared from the spotlight by choice. After later success in LA law, she quietly retired, avoiding the scandals and chaos that haunted many of her co-stars. She lives a private life, rarely giving interviews, almost as if she stepped out of fame before it could take something from her. Today, she is remembered with a kind of mystery, one of the few who walked away early enough to keep herself intact. Number 4. Dave Madden. $150,000 to $250,000. At 40, Dave Madden was already a seasoned comedian when he became Reuben Kincaid, the ever-exasperated manager trying to control a family band spiraling into fame. Unlike the younger cast, he understood the machinery behind television, the illusion it created, and perhaps the limits of it too. His role was constant, appearing throughout the entire series, and his salary reflected that steady presence. While not astronomical, his earnings placed him comfortably among the top tier of the cast. By 2026, Dave Madden exists only in memory, having passed away in 2014 at the age of 82. His life after the Partridge Family never reached the same heights, but it also avoided the dramatic collapses seen in others. He continued acting, took on smaller roles, and lived a relatively stable life away from the chaos of teen idol fame. Today, he is remembered fondly, not as a headline, but as a quiet professional who understood the business and survived it on his own terms. Number 5. Danny Bonaduce, $38,000 to $50,000. He was only 10 years old when he played Danny Partridge, the sharp-tongued, red-haired kid who often felt like the real engine of the show's humor. Born into a struggling show business family, Danny entered the series already familiar with instability. His salary was fixed and brutally transparent, about $400 per episode, totaling just under $40,000 for nearly the entire run. While audiences saw a confident, witty child, behind the scenes was a boy navigating fame without protection and without a share in the massive profits the show generated. By 2026, Danny Bonaduce, now in his mid-60s, remains one of the most publicly turbulent figures from the cast. His life after the show spiraled through addiction, legal troubles, and financial instability before he slowly rebuilt himself through radio and reality television. Unlike others who disappeared, Danny stayed visible, often brutally honest about his struggles. Today, he is viewed as both a survivor and a warning, proof that early fame without structure can leave scars that last a lifetime. Number 6. Suzanne Crowe, $30,000 to $60,000. She was just 7 years old when she became Tracy Partridge, the quiet tambourine player, often smiling in the background while the chaos of fame swirled around her. Suzanne Crowe didn't carry the show, but she carried its innocence. As a child actress, her earnings were modest, tightly controlled, and nowhere near the explosive profits generated by the franchise itself. While the world watched a cheerful little girl, few noticed how little of that success truly belonged to her. By 2026, Suzanne Crowe's story has already reached its quiet, tragic end. She passed away in 2015 at just 52 years old, far removed from the spotlight she once inhabited. After leaving acting, she chose a normal life: marriage, family, work outside Hollywood. There were no scandals, no dramatic fall, just a slow fading into anonymity. Today, she is remembered with a sense of bittersweet nostalgia, a symbol of childhood fame that never fully translated into lasting fortune or recognition. Number 7. Brian Forster, $20,000 to $50,000. He entered the story quietly, replacing Jeremy Gelbwax as Chris Partridge starting in Season 2. Brian Forster was still a teenager, stepping into a role that already had expectations attached, a risky position for any young actor. Unlike the original cast, he didn't experience the explosive rise of the show's early success. His earnings were modest, tied strictly to episode appearances, and far removed from the larger financial engine behind the series. He was part of the family, but never quite at its center. By 2026, Brian Forster, now in his mid-60s, lives a life almost entirely outside the public eye. After leaving acting, he stepped away from Hollywood completely, choosing privacy over persistence. There were no headlines, no scandals, just silence. Today, he is remembered mostly by devoted fans of the show, a familiar face from later seasons who quietly vanished once the cameras stopped rolling. Number 8. Jeremy Gelbwax, $10,000 to $25,000. He was the original Chris Partridge, only 9 years old when the series began, stepping into a role that would soon be replaced almost as quickly as it arrived. Jeremy Gelbwax came from a more academic, non-Hollywood background, and the pressures of production reportedly made his time on the show brief. His earnings were limited to the first season, a relatively small sum compared to what the series would later generate. In many ways, he was part of the beginning, but not the story that followed. By 2026, Jeremy Gelbwax, now in his mid-60s, has built a life far removed from entertainment. He left acting entirely, pursued a career in business and technology, and avoided the long shadow of child stardom. There are no scandals, no dramatic comebacks, just a deliberate exit from a world he never fully embraced. Today, he is remembered as a curious footnote in the show's history, the original face that quietly disappeared before fame could define him. Number 9. Rick Siegel, $5,000 to $15,000. He arrived late in the final season as Ricky Stevens, a small addition to a show already nearing its end. Rick Siegel was just a child, stepping into a world that had already peaked, where the frenzy had cooled and the machine was slowing down. His earnings reflected that timing, modest, limited to a handful of episodes, a fraction of what earlier cast members had seen. He wasn't part of the rise, only the final echoes of it. By 2026, Rick Siegel, now in his late 50s, lives largely outside the spotlight. After a brief acting career, he transitioned into a more conventional life, leaving behind the industry that once gave him a fleeting moment of visibility. There were no dramatic headlines, no fall from grace, just a quiet disappearance. Today, he is remembered only by the most dedicated fans, a reminder that not all who enter fame stay long enough to feel its full weight. Number 10. Gary Dubin, $3,000 to $10,000. He was never meant to be a star, just a recurring face, Punky Lazar, appearing in fragments of a world already filled with louder personalities. Gary Dubin worked as a guest actor, paid per episode, his earnings modest and transactional. While others built identities within the show, he remained on its edges, part of the ecosystem, but never its center. Yet even the smallest roles come with a cost when the spotlight fades. By 2026, Gary Dubin has long since passed, leaving behind a life marked by struggle after early exposure to Hollywood. He died in 2016 at the age of 57, after years reportedly affected by addiction and instability. His story never reached headlines the way bigger names did, but perhaps that makes it even more unsettling. Today, he is remembered faintly, a shadow in the background of a beloved show, and a quiet reminder that even the smallest taste of fame can leave lasting scars. They were once America's happiest family, singing on screen, smiling into a future that seemed guaranteed. But time has a way of rewriting every script. Some held on to dignity, others lost everything, and a few disappeared so completely, it's as if fame never touched them at all. Yet their voices, their faces, their moments still echo. If you want more stories that uncover the truth behind the spotlight, subscribe now, because the real story always begins after the applause ends.